If God knew that Adam and Eve would commit the sin of partaking of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, why did he persist in planting it? That is the question today on Nothing But the Truth. So, God is omniscient, which means God is all-knowing. God is omnipresent, which means he's everywhere. God is all-powerful, which means he can do almost everything, or he can do anything that he wants. But we need to be cautious when we say he can do all things, because we know God cannot lie. We know God cannot hate his creation. So there are certain things that God cannot do. Having said that, let's get back to the main question. I'm sure this is a question that has probably plagued you as well, or puzzled you, or left you baffled. Many people have asked me this question, and I've come across it in on YouTube channels, when I'm reading blogs, or when I'm reading books. If God is all loving, why did he continue, or why did he persist in planting the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, if he knew that Adam and Eve, his creation, would fall as a result of that? There are those who accuse God of being immoral by having planted of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, knowing the consequences that would befall mankind. So what is the answer to the question? Was God immoral for planting the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, knowing the consequences that would arise out of this action? First of all, I think it is important to understand that God's foreknowledge, the fact that God knows all things, and the fact that, he describes himself as the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega, which means he knows the end from the beginning. That does not mean that God's knowledge or God's foreknowledge is causative. That is the mistake that most people make. They think that because God knows what the end will be before it happens, then it means that his foreknowledge is causative. In other words, it causes people to go in a certain direction. No, that's not correct. Let me give you an example. If you are a parent, a mother, for instance, you've just given birth and you've got an infant, you know that the infant is going to rise up in the middle of the night, say at midnight, and you will have to feed the little one with milk. The fact that as a parent you know that the little one will rise up in the morning or in the middle of the night does not mean that you caused the little baby to wake up. You see the sense? So you know what's going to happen, but it's your knowledge or your foreknowledge is not causative. So the same applies to God. His knowledge is not causative. So the planting of the tree of knowledge of good and evil was for the sole purpose of God wanting human beings to choose him, not to have to choose him. There's a difference there. You see, true love can never be expressed except in the presence of competing options. True love can only be expressed in the face of adversity. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that here is the thing that you love. Here's the person that you love. Here is the temptation. True love is when you see the temptation, but you love someone so much that you do what is right. And that is how we're supposed to demonstrate our love for God, and that's how we're supposed to demonstrate our love to others. That's what God wanted for himself, and that's what he wants for us to love others in the same way. Now that's point number one. Point number two is this. We can never know if you are obedient until you've been given an opportunity to disobey. Now, when God planted the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, effectively, what he was doing was giving mankind free will. But what does free will actually mean? Free will means for the person who's giving you free will, in this case, God, he was granting us an opportunity not only to do what is right, but he was also giving us an opportunity to reject him. That is the consequence of free will. It is a gift that mankind received from God. But unfortunately, Adam and Eve used it unwisely. But nonetheless, what it did was to give mankind choice. And choice is important when you are loved. Because what does it mean to be loved if you don't have the freedom to choose? That, my friend, or those are the two reasons why God planted the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because he wanted us to be free moral agents with the ability to choose. He did not want us to be robots. My friends, that is the answer to the question, why did God plant of the knowledge of good and evil, even though he knew that mankind would fall? I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed it, please share it with your friends. I invite you to subscribe and hit that notification button so that you won't miss the next episode in nothing but the truth.